Hello and welcome to the Granstrom Podcast Super Soul Model Series, where I help you tune and tap in to your natural state of well-being. In this episode, I'm going to share with you how to trust in divine timing. Have you ever felt that a project or dream has been taking way too long and you feel frustrated or disappointed? Then if you have, then this episode is for you. And I want to share with you a principle that I've come across that allows you to clear away those frustrations, clear away those feelings of disappointment, and will help you gain clarity in your position. A few years ago, I picked up a book, and the book was called A Deep Breath of Life by Alan Cohen. And it's a book with a daily insight and a daily prayer and something for heart-centered living. And I absolutely love this book. And my version is really tatty and very worn out. That's when you know a book just speaks to you time and time again. And in one of these episodes I came across recently, Alan, the author, explains this biblical terminology that the ancient Greeks used to call Chronos v Kairos. And this is what the ancient Greeks used to refer to as time. Now, there are two different types of time. Chronos meaning time, hours, years, minutes, seconds. And Kairos meaning in divine time, meaning nature's time, divine order. In this, there's two different ways to looking at something. So if things don't seem to happen in the time frame that you want them to be in, then that is what the ancient biblical terminology call Chronos, meaning you're living from Chronos, meaning you're living from man-made time. Yet there is another part of the equation, and that's what we're going to explain today in today's episode. Have you ever thought to yourself that when sometimes something doesn't happen and doesn't go your way, maybe a project or getting a job or maybe falling in love with that special someone you'd put on your vision board or someone that you've had your eye on for a very long time and it just doesn't come to fruition? How do you know that is not for your greatest good? What I'm here to share with you, particularly in this episode, is what we want, meaning man-made, or sometimes even the ego desire, versus what nature wants for us, what life wants for us, what the universe wants for us, what's for our highest good. Because ultimately, what we want is fulfillment. Ultimately, what we want is a great sense of satisfaction. And that comes when we're in harmony and in flow with life, not when we're trying to push to get certain results. Now, results are really important because they keep us measured, they keep us wanting to feel inspired and enthused along the way. But when things don't happen in your life, that you didn't get that job or you didn't meet that special someone at that time or it didn't work out, the universe is actually trying to help you. It's protecting you for your greatest good further down the line by not getting that job or maybe not being in a relationship with that person or not making that amount of money right now. Because life or the universe or God has your back, and that prevention, that protection is helping you grow along the way. Because as soon as you grow into the right person with the right energy, what you're going to find is that things will flow to you in what is called the Kairos, in nature's time, in nature's rhythm. So anything that you don't have right now, that you really desperately desire, is actually a blessing in disguise. Because the universe is always protecting you. It's always got your back. It's always caring for you. And it seems though it might not be that way when something isn't going your way or something's really slow in coming and you're feeling frustrated. You're like, well, why hasn't it happened yet? Surely I put enough due diligence into this project. Surely that by now everything should have unfolded, but it hasn't. What's wrong? Is there something wrong with me? The answer to that is not. You're just still assuming that it isn't working out, even though it might take a few years. In some cases, it might take several years before it unfolds. I want to share with you a story, something that happened to me a few years ago. When you don't receive something, it's actually a blessing in disguise. It's like the universe's protection or nature's protection. And when you really want something, it doesn't feel like that if you're not getting it. It just feels like, why is it not happening to me? And you begin to feel this disappointment. And with me, what I noticed was I had this dream. I really want to move and live in New York because that's where modeling jobs would be and certain clients would be. And I just thought I would really enjoy living that life. But nature or the universe had other plans for me. And what I found was several years later, I did end up going to New York and staying there for a little time. But what I noticed was that my heart wasn't there. My heart was in London. I felt better being in London than I did being and living in New York. There was more space to be found for me that I found being in London, and I had friends and I enjoyed my work and I enjoyed my life. But that feeling of needing or wanting to be in another city, when I arrived there, it wasn't there. I was so relieved that I didn't end up living there, that I didn't end up being there, because I don't think I would have been as happy. And I can look back now in hindsight and going, I wouldn't have been as happy as I thought I would have been if I'd gone at that time. It might have been okay for a day or two, but it wouldn't have satisfied me. So I know that that was protection by not having that dream occur. And that might be the same for you if you don't get a job, or you wanted that relationship with that special someone and it didn't work out. What I do know is that sometimes not getting what you want at a certain time isn't because it's not coming to fruition, but it's because the universe has something even better planned for you. And if you can roll with that understanding, if you can accept the idea or the possibility of that, then you're going to be home free. And this is going to make sense. This is how you're going to begin to trust in divine order, how you're going to begin to trust in the divine timing of things. Because whatever the challenge you may be experiencing, or something that's holding you back from coming to fruition, if something is for your highest good, if a dream or a venture or a project or a business you're setting up or a relationship is not quite there yet, what that means is that you're not quite ready yet yourself. And you have to just hang in there and be a little patient until something unfolds that allows that to blossom and bear fruit. What I've noticed is that the universe loves win-wins. And when you have a venture, a project, or something you want to manifest, something you want to draw into your life, something that you want to come true, when it benefits other people, then you know for sure it's going to come to fruition. But if it's only just going to benefit you, then it might just be coming from ego. It might not be serving the bigger picture. It might not be serving your soul's growth. And if you can remember, if there's something that you truly want, then hanging in there and being a bit patient might be what you just need to do. And that means you're then operating at Kairos rather than Chronos. And so just being patient might be what you need to do. And just remember, when your energy matches the vibration of that which you want, meaning matches the energy of being happy, matches the energy of feeling enthused and excited and eager about what's to come, then what's going to happen is these manifestations, these dreams of yours can then meet you at that elevated emotion, because nothing really can come to you unless you're matching the energy. So sometimes being patient is what you need to do in order for things to click into place. And I love that terminology, clicking into place, because it means that your energy is the same energy, that same heightened energy as what you're wanting to draw into your life. Maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's a new business, maybe it's a new job, or it might be a pile of money, whatever it may be. You need to make sure that your energy matches what you want. And I'll tell you, the answer to that is you always feel good. For the last couple of years, the word that I keep referring back to is the word patience. And nature is patient. But we as human beings don't always feel that patient. We want things instantly. And life doesn't work like that. Nature doesn't work like that. In nature, there's gradual change. And by trusting this principle seen in nature that certain things are planted at certain times and certain things harvest at another time, very much like conception and birth, there is a buffer of time in between. Knowing that that is how things come about, there is a gradual change, that there is a buffer of time or a pregnant pause in between, then you realize that when the time is right, your goals, dreams, and desires will come about. And it means that you're not pushing them into being, you're trusting them into being. You planted the seed, you're not digging it up, you're watering it, giving it sunlight, giving it a place to grow, and eventually your dreams will come true. And this understanding will really serve you going forwards, because you're going to find it literally in everything that practicing a level of patience is going to be really powerful for you, trusting this universal law. What I've noticed is that the entertainment industry, particularly movies, sometimes do a disservice to how nature actually works. The action stories are fun to watch, but then vibrationally inaccurate, meaning when there's a lot of action and then it all turns good at the end, that's not necessarily how the universe works. It works through emotion, so the better you feel, the better your results. But when there's been a lot of drama, when there's a lot of resistance, the movies show to you that it can all turn out well in the end, but that's not actually how things go about in the real life. What happens in the real life is a response to the vibration and the thoughts and the feelings that you're emitting. So if you're looking at challenging experiences, if you're looking at disappointment, if you're feeling overwhelmed by what you're looking at, then that feeling of disappointment just begets more disappointment. So if you want to switch that up, you need to start feeling eager. You need to start feeling enthused and getting excited about what's to come. Very much like when you're expecting a baby, you know that there's 9 months between that conception and the birth of your baby. The same thing applies with your projects. Now, it might not be 9 months, it might take a lot longer, depending on your project and depending on the work that you're putting in, the energy that you're putting in. Because really what you're trusting is that all your due diligence, all your energy will come to fruition at a certain point in time. That's why a lot of businesses seem to fail after the first year and maybe fail after 3 years, is because a certain level of optimism and due diligence is encouraged in order to keep that new momentum working. And sometimes people lose faith about it, or sometimes they just don't have a great business plan or a great business. But what I've noticed is that a level of optimism needs to keep running. Amazon, after its first year of being on float in the year 2000, I think it was 2002, nearly crashed. The same thing with Apple. It nearly went bankrupt as well. And now fast forward 20 years, you know better. You know that these companies thrive. And if you had bought shares in these when you knew that that was happening, you'd be a multimillionaire now. And so in order for something to really thrive, it can take a little while before that momentum changes. And the same is with your projects, the same is with your ventures, and the same is with your goals and your dreams. So you've got to have trust, knowing that there may be a difficult growing period before something actually begins to manifest, something really changes. What I've noticed with divine timing, what I've noticed with this Kairos principle, is that divine timing got me on a plane the day before we got locked in for COVID. Divine timing led me to apply for certain passports and papers before I got on that plane, so that it looked after me during COVID so I could look after my folks. Divine timing and divine guidance made me meet certain people at the right time that gave me the information that I needed to look after myself whilst I was away out the country. I cannot make this up, but yet here I am able to look into my own experience and just go, wow, this Kairos principle really does work. And the same is happening for you, but you might not be observing it, you might not notice it. And I'm here to remind you, notice in your life. The key is to look at the events and the people and the ventures going on in your life and observe them and look to see what's happening behind the scenes, because you are being guided and yet you might not even know it. You're being guided to certain people that are answering certain questions for you. You're being guided to certain businesses or certain jobs, or maybe you're finding a sense of discontent in your work and you're thinking, I need to look at other avenues here. And that discontent is guidance saying, hey, you've gone down that road. Maybe it's time to go down another road and have a look. That's all that discontent is telling you. And so if you're unsure, you've got to ask for guidance. You've got to say, hey, if the universe is listening, give me a sign, give me some guidance here. And you will get the sign of what you need. Is this the right way to go down? And explore that avenue. You know, sometimes asking for a feather or seeing a rainbow or seeing numbers like 111222 might be the sign that you need to, when you're asking that question, is this the right way to go? Is this good for me? Is this for my highest good? I love asking that question. Can really put you back in the right trajectory and give you that sort of comfort to be able to move forward and feel like that something greater is looking out for you. A hand bigger than yours is trying to guide you and has your back. I've often noticed that billboards and magazines talk to me. And I remember just being on a bus or asking questions, and the billboard said, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. So it's amazing what can happen. But you've got to be open. You've got to be open to those little coincidences that come about, those little signs, noticing the signs, so that you can feel comforted. Because as soon as you start sort of tuning in with nature, that the universe is always talking to you, but the question is, are you listening? Then what you're going to find is that you'll be operating solely out of Chronos. And if you operate solely out of Chronos, you're going to feel frustrated and disappointed more of the time. So you want to work in harmony with the universe and work in harmony with nature's rhythm, so you have more of a happy vibrational frequency going on. So I want to share with you another story. There's a guy called C.Y. O'Connor, and he was from Australia, and he had this big dream in his life's work to build a pipeline in Perth, Australia. And it was to travel water down this pipe in this very arid part of Australia. And he put his whole life and his whole income and his whole work into helping construct and build this incredible pipeline. And the very day that he went to turn the faucet on, turn the tap on, that pipe was now all in place. Nothing came out. And he was absolutely devastated. And this is a true story. And so they found him the next day having killed himself. And this is a really tough story, because what he thought was the time that when you turn the tap on, the water should come out. What they found a week later was that water started to trickle out that pipe now, out the tap, from that large pipeline that he'd built, only then to start gushing and overflowing with water. That pipe had really come to work. But it didn't come in the time that C.Y. O'Connor had wanted, Chronos. It came in Kairos, when it was ready. And so you've got to ask yourself this question. Am I killing myself with disappointment? Am I killing myself with thinking that certain things need to be done right now and need to come about in my time rather than nature's time? So as soon as you can ask that question, only you will be able to answer that, because you're either trusting or you're trying to control. And you've got to really dance between controlling what you can control and leaving the rest to divine will, to divine order, to nature, so that nature can do its thing. Because you can't hurry nature. You can put certain fertilizers on, but ultimately nature will always win. If you ever look at homes that have been abandoned, or even cities that have been abandoned, they get overgrown with nature because nature always prevails. There are lost cities under the Amazon that people are only discovering today, where nature has overgrown through buildings and massive structures. And they can see these on these special heat scanners. And nature has a way of overgrowing and overtaking everything. And as soon as we as a species, and as soon as you can start trusting in the power of nature and understanding that it has certain rhythms that you can trust, that you can predict, then you won't worry. And you don't need to worry, because as soon as you can start eliminating worry from your life, then you're going to be flowing in harmony with this divine order, with this divine will. And you're a spiritual being first, having a human experience. And so there's no need to sort of try and kill yourself in the meantime, like C.Y. O'Connor did, by not trusting that his project would come to fruition. But it didn't come at the time that he thought it would come a week later. So you've got to be mindful about timing. Now, in spiritual terms, you may not be able to see the bigger picture, but life can. Very much like an aeroplane, it can see the bigger picture of what's happening down below. And you'd want to be guided by that higher self, by that universe that can see the bigger picture, that can say, hey, you're in this 2D game like maybe Pac-Man or whatever. And if you take this turn and you take this turn, then you're going to be able to get where you need to go. So you want to trust that higher version of yourself that can see the bigger picture. You know, some people will call it God, some people will call it spirit, some people will call it the universe. Matters not what you call it. But you don't need to see the bigger picture, but you do need to be tuned into the energy, and you tune into that energy when you feel good. In spiritual terms, you are always loved. And if your projects are a good one, then you've got to really realize and hang in there that patience is all you really need. And remember, if it's a project that will be benevolent, then it's very likely to come around, because the universe, as I said earlier, operates through win-wins. And the universe wants to help as many people as possible. So if your project is a good one and it helps lots of people, then all you need to do is just hang in there. And last but not least, in spiritual terms, when the time is right, everything will unfold perfectly. So as I've talked about in this episode so far, you just have to learn how to trust that nature will do its thing and run its course. And remember, if it's slow in coming, it's because it's teaching you how to grow into the person that has this dream, that has this goal, that has this job, that has this relationship, that is able to look after this amount of wealth or whatever. It all depends on who you are becoming along the way. And the stronger you are, the more energy you hold, the more focused you are, the more centered you are, the more likely the universe is going to keep delivering more good stuff to you, because it knows you can handle the responsibility, you can handle the power. You never give things to a child if they're not ready to manage it. And the universe acts very much like the same. So when you can demonstrate that you can look after yourself, you can handle yourself, you're self-sufficient, that you can manage the money that you might have right now, it will send you more money to manage. And if you can look after yourself and you take care of yourself, it's going to send you a partner that also takes care of themselves. And the universe will always give to you what you are resonating. So if something's not quite there in your life yet, you don't fear. Just trust that something amazing is on its way. We live in really fast times. The speed of technology is rapid. There's fast internet, fast broadband. We can text each other on the other side of the planet instantly. We can connect with people on the space station, the International Space Station, with video. We can do everything instantly. Our ancestors couldn't do that, but we can. And we've kind of lost this little aspect of ourselves of working with nature and understanding how there is gradual change rather than instant change. And so it's far more easy to manage with understanding that things are gradual changing, very much like a baby. If you wanted a baby and then suddenly you had one tomorrow, it would be probably a bit too much. But with 9 months, there's preparation. And it's the same for you with your goals and your dreams. Realize that there is a buffer of time between what you want and what actually turns up. And that is a healthy thing. And realize that that is the Kairos, that's the one you want to operate with. And realize if something's not quite happening yet, it just means maybe a few things are still coming together, a few more people are coming together that will help the process. So in conclusion here, only you know if you're operating in Chronos and you're pushing too hard, or you're operating in Kairos, meaning you're beginning to trust. And if you are feeling a little disappointed, it means you just need to let go of the reins a little bit and just go, I know that this is working out. I know things are coming together. And have that little affirmation. Things are always working out for me, even though it may not seem that way. This is a wonderful little way to remind you time and time again, and just spend a little bit more time in nature. Watch how there are certain seasons for planting and certain seasons for bearing fruit. You know this because you've seen it all your life. Nature is a wonderful teacher, and if you can keep your eye on it, you'll realise that you'll also learn how to trust in the divine time of everything, especially all your dreams and goals. If you've enjoyed this episode or any of my other episodes, I'd really appreciate you liking, subscribing, and just taking the time to maybe even leave a review. Your reviews can make such an impact. 74% of people don't actually do anything. And so if you'd like new guests and new material that I can keep giving you, then hitting that likes button, hitting that subscribe button will make a massive impact, so I can bring you even better content and even better guests going forward. So if you can, I'd really appreciate it. Now, until the next episode, I wish you a wonderful week ahead and green lights all the way.